Bore da, croeso cynnes I chi gyd. Good morning and welcome to this Zoom meeting today with the Swansea Bay Business Club. A very warm welcome to you all on behalf of the board, our season sponsor, Swansea University School of Management. Thank you, Louisa, for your support and for getting involved and for facilitating this webinar meeting today. As a member of the Swansea Bay Business Club and for booking onto this event today, we are sending you a gift box, as you know, as a token of our appreciation for your continued support. If you like receiving this, we would ask you to upload a photo of you with the box to social media and tag Swansea Bay Business Club using hashtag SBBC member to be in with a chance to win an espresso coffee machine. Please look out for the boxes, they're on their way. As you know, we have Councillor Rob Stewart, Leader of the City and County of Swansea, with us today to talk about coming out of recovery and the next phase and the next steps of the City deal. As a club, I feel it's important to gain and pass on to you guys, our members, what's going on in the region. And today we hope we could achieve this. We're still in extremely difficult times. I don't have to tell you guys that due to the virus. We're not out of it yet. It's getting better. We're getting there. And I'm sure you're all thinking like me of everyone who's struggling personally and in business in Swansea, Wales and beyond, really. We think about the mental health and well-being of our staff, as we all do. And we want to encourage, I suspect, communication with families, friends, work colleagues. I think it's so important that we talk and keep talking. I'm sure you would agree. Let's recognise the club partners, without whom events like this wouldn't be possible. They are NGB PR, our PR partners, JCP Solicitors, our events partner, NetPop, the club website partner, Morgan & Morgan, Total Office Solutions, our IT partner, Media Wales, our media partner, and our club photographers, Tim Hughes, Liam Reedon, and Alice Llewellyn. Thank you all for your support. As you would know, it's Armed Forces Week this week, and the club supports ABF, the Soldiers Charity, which is a national charity for the British Army. We all know the charities have been hit extremely hard during this pandemic. We're looking to work with the Soldiers Charity again next year under Mike Morgan's tenure as president when I step down in February. So that's great. We're going to carry on with the Soldiers Charity for another 12 months at least. Some of us are heading to the Sahara Desert in November to walk approximately 100k, all being well. So that's really good. So we are thinking of the charity and getting involved. The club's also walking the hills with Call of the Wild on the 7th of July. All proceeds for that will be going to the Soldiers Charity. So thanks to Mark Soames and the team at Call of the Wild. This is only open to corporate members for now as a trial. We're just going to trial this walk. It's a bit of a networking walk. So it's only open to corporate for a minute. We'll trial it, and all being well, we'll open it out to all members for a future event. So that's good. So if you are a corporate member, please get in early, as it's limited numbers, so you need to get in quick. Also, everybody, please look out for more online members only roundtable events. Okay, I need to tell you, I think I'd mention it, the meeting is being recorded. Please use the chat function to make a comment or ask a question to Councillor Stewart. We do have breakout rooms at the end of the session. If you wish to stay around, have a chat, Louisa will put up some breakout rooms. We can dive in and cross over and what have you, and do a little bit of networking if you've got time after the end of the session, which would be great. And that's me done, really. And Rob Stewart still hasn't joined us, so I was going to actually bring him in there, and he hasn't joined us. Now, I'll talk a little bit about City Deal, what I know. We are doing a project as AB Glass, the windows and doors opposite the digital arena. We didn't win that one, but it stayed in Wales, which is good. But we are doing the North Block, it's called, where the car park's going opposite the digital arena for Buckingham, which is good. So that's keeping it local. I'm sure most of you guys, business owners and leaders, have had a touch of it, hopefully, of the City Deal and are getting involved. I know it's been good for my business, which is great, but you've got to get involved and get engaged with the contractors, otherwise you ain't going to look it. It's challenging with the contractor. but we're getting there. But we have seen a couple of large projects for us. You know, we've gained over a couple of £1 million worth of work in Swansea just with the City Deal project. So that's good for business anyway. So I'm keeping it local, so the economy benefits. I don't know what else to say really, other than a typical politician is bloody late, which is frustrating to say the least. But maybe I'll have to have a private word with him. It's not right, is it? But there you go. There you go.
Hi, Alan. Actually, Rob is just about to appear.
Oh, fantastic. There you go. That's good timing. You didn't hear me swear. I'm looking at the screen, Louisa, and I can't see Councillor Stewart yet. Okay.
Good morning, Alan. I've just joined. Apologies, I didn't have the right link.
All right, thanks, Rob. Isn't it lovely to see you? I've done my bit of an introduction spiel and covered a few points. As you know, the session is being recorded, so everyone is aware of that. And if they want to turn the video off, they can. Obviously, everyone's muted. It's just us and yourself who are not muted. So basically, I've done my bit. Councillor Stewart, it's over to you. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is where we test if the tech works. Okay, so if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to share my screen for a second, if that's okay. Can everybody see that?
It's working for me, Rob. Yeah.
Great stuff. So I thank you first of all, everybody, for the opportunity to come and give you a bit of an update today. You know, the last time I was here, I think, was during the early part of the pandemic, and of course it's been a very unprecedented year for everybody. So I just wanted to give you an update in terms of the big schemes that are going on, the stuff that we're trying to do to support recovery, and obviously, as always, happy to answer any questions you may have on anything that's either in the presentation or not. So feel free after the presentation to ask me any questions. Let's go for the next screen. So if we go to Copper Bay first, which obviously is where the arena and all the major development is taking place down near the LC. So the good news is we remain on track for an autumn completion. Like many businesses, you may have encountered a few supply issues in recent months as construction supply chains have become squeezed, and obviously some of the costs have increased in terms of raw materials. But the good news is we're on track, and we will look to practical completion the early part of October. And then, COVID allowing, there'll be the test events leading up to the major opening of the arena then probably early in the new year, but obviously everything COVID specific. The skin is starting to be fitted this week, so I'll show you a couple of images of that being added shortly. And of course that digital skin has 97,000 LED lights in it now, so it's going to be quite a dramatic building once it's complete. The two new car parks, they are virtually complete. The fins are being added to the one in the corner of the picture over there, as you can see. And the new Swan Bridge is in place. Obviously, it's got its own other nicknames at the moment: the taco, the cheese grater, or the crunchy, depending on which one you go for. But again, it's being fitted out with new lighting, and it's going to be quite an impressive piece of art, as well as a bridge once it's complete. The Pobble block, which has been completed the other side of the bridge, also has its restaurant area and its commercial areas. The good news on the commercial let-ins is that we've let, I believe, all of the 9 initial units that we have in that, as well as the pod in the park. The park itself is the first new park in Swansea since Victorian times. It'll be that coastal park, and overall, in terms of the scheme, that coastal park plus the biodiversity plus the PV plus the electric vehicle charging and all of the other green elements, living walls, etc., means that the development, as far as it can be, is a very green development. We're, you know, the numbers are firmed up now, so we're on track for 2,000 locally based construction jobs having taken place during the period of construction. 600 full-time jobs in the Copper Bay complex itself once it's complete, and we're anticipating a minimum of 230,000 additional visitors to Swansea every year. That equates into about £17.5 million worth of boost to the local economy every year. And I think if it works, I've got a little fly through just to show you the there you go. That's just a quick recap of what's in phase one, a little bit of a trailer for phase two, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. These are just some of the images that we've taken whilst we've been on site. So the top left-hand image there is the final visuals for the pod that will go in the park. That'll go to a local operator. So we're making the announcement on that in due course. A couple of images from inside the bridge. We've got some temporary lighting in there at the moment just to show the effects. And again, if you drive down Oystermouth Road in the evenings, you'll see that that is lit. It gives quite a nice effect. But the proper bespoke digital lighting that'll go in there, it will do a lot more than that. And then just a shot from a day or so ago, as we start fitting the exterior skin of the arena. It is a coppery gold colour. It is quite striking, and within each of those panels are thousands of LED lights. So again, the testing for that will be going on towards the end of the summer, and should be quite an interesting spectacle to see. So moving forward into phase two. So phase two, just to put it into context, is 6 times bigger economically than phase one. Phase one is the catalyst, it's the arena, it's the start of the redevelopment. Phase two is the bigger element in terms of how it boosts our economy. So we'll begin phase two by demolishing the existing St David's car park. The 2 new car parks, of course, will be online and available to use by the time we start demolishing, and they'll provide circa 1,000 spaces. We'll be announcing the successful partner for the £1 billion Shaping Swansea partnership that we've gone out for the 7 strategic sites across Swansea. Those are sites in the city centre, in the river corridor, and down at the seafront. So again, we're excited by the interest that's caused, and again, it's going to help us to maintain the momentum in terms of future regeneration. In terms of phase two, big part of phase two is that public sector hub. We're going to have 3 employment hubs in the city centre. So the public sector hub will see the council move its staff into a new build in the phase two, where opposite the LC, where the current existing St David's car park is. We will be joined there by Welsh Government and a number of national government agencies and departments, bringing several thousand new jobs to the city centre, as well as securing jobs within the region. So again, in terms of footfall and economic activity in the core city centre, that's really, really important. And you're looking at about 106 or 107 million pounds annually impact of the phase two developments, compared to 17 million for the first phase. Phase two also contains a new range of retail, food and beverage, and further leisure offerings. So again, what you're seeing in phase one in terms of retail is very small compared to what will be in phase two. It also will see the further provision of private and rented homes as part of the phase 2 development. And of course, we take the opportunity as part of the redevelopment of that area to link into the quadrant and into Swansea Market in a way that we don't currently. So again, further details of those schemes will follow. Just in terms of the pictures, you can see the top one is under construction currently, because we are doing some of the phase 2 elements now. And that is the new cafe village hall, which will go on the side of the church. The image below it is some of the new units which are in the phase 2 area, but as part of being delivered as part of phase 1. And then the bottom picture is the fins. That was about a month or so ago now, where the fins were starting to be attached to the outside of the car parks. Because again, we didn't want ugly car parks. We wanted things that were properly screened and would look very nice and fit in with the new build that we're going for. Moving up then to High Street and the City Gateway, you'll know the Palace Theatre. We've now fully completed all of the deal on the Palace Theatre. We're out to contract at the moment, looking for partners to do the work, so contractors to do the work to restore the building. The architects have already drawn up a good plan in terms of what we're going to do with that building to create a very unique office working environment, retaining many of the elements that are still in existence in the building. It's heavily water damaged and there is some fire damage in there, but what we can salvage we will, and we will try and use things like the balcony balustrading and stuff like that, so creating a very, very unique workspace. And when complete towards the end of 22, early 23, it will be operated. We've already signed up with Tramshed to bring obviously individuals and businesses in there to fill that building. Moving across the road really, and down by the station then, obviously the Mariner Street development, if you've driven past, it's nearing completion. I think they've had some challenges with some of the cladding and some of the materials, but the blocks are on track to take students now for the coming term in September. The Oldway Centre first phase has been done, and we're talking to the owners about the second phase. So that will progress shortly, and there'll be announcements on that in due course. The upgrade of Swansea Station, which we talked about potentially happening, has been completed now. So that's the longer platforms, the upgrades of the ticketing areas, the food and beverage areas, and obviously allows the longer trains to come into Swansea Station. Orchard House, which isn't the council development, but we were involved in, supporting, again has been completed. So that now is ready for letting. I think there are already people in there. The bottom picture you can see it there is the Dragon Hotel. So again, we've been successful in securing grants for the Dragon Hotel, and living walls will be added to the frontage of the Dragon. And as you'll be aware, there are developments also taking place around Kingsway Square, which are further private developments taking place around the old Barron's store and where the old shopping retail bits were. In terms of Castle Keys, I remain tenaciously chasing the owners to get the work done on that building and to get the scaffolding down. I believe that's in its final stages of litigation, and we're hopeful that an agreement be put in place so the work can be completed, and then the scaffolding can come down there, because obviously it's been a blight on that area for far too long. So we're pursuing that on a monthly basis. In terms of moving down the Kingsway, you'll have seen our recent announcements in terms of 71, 72 the Kingsway, the Oceana site, the Jumping Jack site, the Odeon site, depending on your era. We will be beginning the construction of that. Weeks will be on site towards the end of August, beginning of September, to create the new building there. Again, very high ecological and environmental credentials of that building. It will create an innovation hub. So that's the second hub. We've got the public sector hub. This is the innovation hub. We've got interested tenants already expressed strong interest and are due to sign to go and be part of that building. But also we want to retain some of the space in that building, obviously, for innovation and growth space for local companies to go into, which is part of the ethos of what we're trying to do with the city deal. So allowing affordable but high quality space for companies to grow. Behind the building there, you've got the Oxford Street development, which is the biophilic building being taken forward by HASA. And again, all of the approvals and permissions are in place for that to proceed now. So you'll see that progress very shortly. We've completed all the public realm works along the Kingsway. I think it's looking 100% better than it was. It's much greener. And if you look at the plans now for things like the Champs-Élysées in Paris, they take many of the elements we've already done in Swansea, but they got a much bigger budget than we had. They plan to spend about £750 million on it, I think. So, but I think a much more inviting and friendly space, and much greener and cleaner space. And then finally, at the bottom of the Kingsway, you'll see that Coastal have got their scaffolding up now, refurbishing and repurposing the space above the Potter's Wheel. And again, that will have living walls on it. So the Kingsway is a very different space to what it was just 2 years ago, but obviously more to do, and looking forward to seeing the completion of the buildings there. Outside of that, of course, there's other stuff going on in the city centre, which is smaller but still important. And some of this is not run directly by us, but it's worth mentioning. We've helped obviously the depot and the new owners of the Albert Hall secure grants. There's about £9 million going in there, so the Albert Hall refurbishment will begin shortly, and then the depot will operate it with an 800-person capacity space in there for performances, nicely linking with what we're doing around the other cultural venues in the city. We've got the local services hub, so this is the third of the hubs. Again, part of the strategy about bringing jobs into the core city centre, shoring up and repurposing some of the buildings in the city centre to bring jobs into the city centre as we emerge from COVID. Local Services Hub will see the Central Library move from the Civic Centre into the core city centre, into the BHS building, and then there'll be flexible working space for partner organisations and local organisations to go in there and utilise that space. Outside of that, we've consulted already on the new designs for Castle Square Gardens, or Castle Garden Square, whichever way you want to say it. And again, we'll be beginning the redevelopment of Castle Square Gardens in due course. And Wine Street, which is the first phase really of that development, is already underway. So there's about £3 million already invested into Wine Street. That will see new seating, outside seating areas, new surfacing, new lighting has already been installed throughout Wine Street. The alleyways connecting to Wine Street will be given a cultural uplift, and new lighting and new effects put into them. And then there are new security measures put either side of the entrances to Wine Street to make sure it's a safe space for people to enjoy once we're allowed to after COVID. Skipping up to the river corridor, again, we've made significant progress on the sites here. So the master plan's been done. We're engaged again with Skyline. We're obviously looking at the scheme on top of the hill. They've successfully agreed a potential package of support from Welsh Government to bring obviously that development to Swansea. We're going through the final stages of looking at the business plan around that. Welsh Government are happy with that plan. So all being well, we hope to get the final sign-off from the Skyline board in due course. And we'd be hopeful of a planning application being submitted probably early in the new year. If they can do it before, great, but probably early in the new year. Their new business plan suggests over 750,000 visitors a year to that facility. It will include luge lines, zip lines, luge runs, zip lines, and obviously the gondola ride, and then an attraction at the top of the hill as well in terms of potentially being able to host events up there. Around the river corridor then, in terms of the master planning, obviously we've already announced we propose to restart running sort of taxi services and stuff up the river to connect better to the Liberty area. Penderyn Whiskey Distillery, Weavers, again a local contractor on site there doing the renovation of the historic buildings that are there. That will be the home to the new Penderyn Whiskey Distillery, which hopefully will be open around or before this time next year. And then outside of that, going down the river corridor, one of the strategic sites that the new partner will take control of to develop is the St. Thomas railway site on the other side of the river, and that will probably be one of the first sites to be brought back into and be redeveloped as part of the river corridor. That will also allow us then to extend some of the active travel routes down the river corridor. We've got one on the east side at the moment. We're looking to open up the west side, including a very, very neat design, which I'll be able to show you in due course, which is a new Highline scheme, which will allow people to cycle directly into the city centre using some of the old railway lines. It's a really, really neat scheme. So again, we'll share some further details with you in due course on that. And then going wider on transport, in terms of the metro, again, we've been working with Transport for Wales, so this has progressed pretty well. So it brings together the active travel programme, and you may be aware that Swansea now has, enough active travel routes and miles of cycle routes and safe walking routes to rival European capitals. We've really done exceptionally well in terms of funding from Welsh Government to be able to deliver that, and there's going to be a further significant investment in new cycle routes this year. And obviously the bus and rail development, together with all of the bits that make it work, so the data services, the analytics, the interchanging, the ticketing, through ticketing, all of that work is being done with Transport for Wales. So just in terms of the part for Swansea, I guess, so the yellow lines there are the main lines. The green lines that you can see are the potential initial, what we're calling the circle line. So it will go out up via Landor, Winchwen to Llansamlet, loop around Skewin, Neath, Britain Ferry, Llandarcy, back through Llansamlet, through Morriston, Velindre, Penllygare, out to the Bont, back into Llanelli, and then back via Gowden and Cocket. These will be regular rail services. And the good news is that most of the stuff you see there is already existing lines. So it's the stations that are going to need the investment to be built, but the lines themselves are already there. There's a little bit of tactical connections needed around the Llansamlet interchange, but primarily those lines already exist and are in use primarily for freight at the moment. So again, really good opportunities for us to make good progress on that. And that's going to be part of our levelling up ask of the UK government, in terms of this is where potentially the funding can come on, obviously jointly with Welsh Government. But as I've said before, I'm neither bothered whether it's a city deal project or it sits outside the city deal, as long as the funds then it becomes a major regional project. So again, and then just to emphasize, the work is also being done then in terms of the travelling through the strategic bus networks, because again, there's an opportunity here for us to tie up the bus services with the rail services under a new model, and to have what we've all wanted for a long time, which is a properly connected transport system, public transport system connecting the whole of our region. But obviously, from my point of view as Leader of Swansea, making sure that it services what we're doing in the city centre, and that the bigger number of people that will be coming to the city in future years are able to have the options of coming in by public transport. So, and that was a canter through just some of the major stuff. So Alan, I'll hand back to you. I'll stop sharing my screen, and obviously happy to take questions on anything there.
Great, thanks, Rob. That's so much going on. It's absolutely amazing. It's great news for Swansea and the region. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's absolutely superb. I'm thrilled with that, and I've got a bounce and spring in my step. I think there's great opportunities for business in the region to get involved. We have got a few questions, Rob. The first one is, I think I'll get this one out the way first. Basically, the skateboard ramp on Mumbles Road. Forget what's gone on in the past. And we all know what's going on social media, etc. But why not move it down to the junction and the Lido? It makes more sense. It's got toilets there. There's a cafe there. The young people will enjoy the space more. I don't know. Just a question.
Start without a hot topic, Alan. Thanks for that one.
That's all right, mate.
So I think first thing for people to remember is, whilst as a council we are supportive of the scheme and we are happy to consider giving land over for that development to take place, this is a scheme being delivered by Mumbles Community Council, and they did a site search looking at various options where the skate park could be based. And the preferred site from the land search that they did and the evaluation that they did was an independent report did the evaluation. They came back with the site that has currently been chosen. Now, I've always been of the opinion that, you know, if we could do something more around Blackpill and around the Lido, they're very, very, very keen to do that. I think, you know, when you see the active travel announcements that are due to be made shortly in terms of what we plan to do around that area with some new infrastructure, some new bridges as well, I think there's a real opportunity to do lots around the Lido and Blackpill. But, you know, it's not my development. I'm supporting it. But, you know, it's Mumbles Community Council. And given that the Community Council boundaries actually, I think, stopped before then, I think they wanted it within their boundaries for obvious reasons.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Sorry about the pressure question there. But
no, it's okay.
How are we measuring that contracts are being delivered by local businesses and that all opportunities are identified to the local supply chains?
Yeah, so every major project that we do, we track the spend through to the local contractors. We track within a radius of the site how many employees live within 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, 50 miles. For those of you on the call who may have worked with us on some of our school builds, you'll know that that's part of the contract that we do on any major project in local authorities in the region. Because we want to make sure that we track that spend through. So for the arena site, we're running currently at about 70%, but we expect that to rise, and that's only as low as 70% because obviously some of the steel work wasn't local. It was done by a contractor who was not in the region. That reduced the current measure, but as we've gone through the phasing in terms of the completion of the works, that number has continued to rise. So, you know, in the arena, we're at about 70% at the moment. We will be higher than that when we finish, and certainly as we get into phase 2, massive opportunities for local firms. Again, if we go, as we have done with a contractor like Rivington or with Bouygues, then there is an obligation on them to hire and to use local labour as part of those contracts.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, Rob, being part of many of the projects that's ongoing now as one of my businesses are. So I can vouch for that. Thank you for that. What is your proudest achievement for the city regeneration over the past 2 years, and what do you think it will be in 5 years' time?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think over the last 2 years, I've got to say, I mean, it's not my achievement, but I think the proudest thing that I've seen over the last year or so is the way that everybody involved in public service and, you know, in our private sector partners have just reacted and pulled together to get through the pandemic. I mean, there is no rule book for the pandemic. I mean, this is what I was talking to some fellow leaders about recently, and you know, there is no rule book for us to deal with this sort of event. So, you know, the way in which, you know, I'm very proud of the way in which my council services, I mean, all of our schools changed from being schools to being care facilities and remote education facilities over the period of a weekend. You know, it's amazing. We opened up new social care facilities. So if the worst of the pandemic hit, we could bring people and care for them outside of the current facilities that we run. We built a hospital for the NHS. And unlike the other Nightingale hospitals, which were, you know, very temporary hospitals, the guys actually designed, built and delivered a structure within a building. So we have a building over the bay. Many of you may have been there for your vaccinations over in the bay in MPT. And that was delivered by Swansea Council, by our workforce. And it was designed, constructed and delivered within about a 12-week period. We couldn't do that without fantastic trades locally, all pulling together to help do the work. The suppliers making sure the things that would probably take us 6 months to even procure were on site within 3 days. You know, it was outstanding effort. And I just think, you know, the way in which everybody's responded, I know it is something that's probably been one of the most difficult times for everybody, but in all difficulties, there have been some amazing efforts and some amazing hero stories. And, you know, I'm looking forward, once we get out of the pandemic for good, which I hope we'll be able to do this year, that we can then recognize those contributions, because we do want to make sure that everybody who's played their part gets recognized fully for the efforts they've made. But that's, I mean, in a 5 years' time, I hope the city centre plans, the things you see built at the moment, and the fact that we'll hopefully have a city that will be a brilliant place to come and have a day out in, to work in. It'll be a healthy and beautiful place to enjoy in, and a place we can all be proud of. That's what I want in 5 years' time. But actually, I want it sooner than 5 years' time if I can.
That's a great answer, Rob. Thanks for that. Next question really isn't a question for you, but I'm going to say it because I think it's a question for everybody on the call today. With youth unemployment being a huge and unsavory reality after the pandemic and businesses struggling to recruit, are any Swansea businesses prepared to take on young, inexperienced people and train them up, perhaps initially as work placements, so that they can gain confidence and skills and ultimately contribute to our local economy? Well, me being a businessman and everybody in this room today, I think the answer would be a yes to that. From my point of view, it would. We got 2 youngsters in now, to 3 youngsters in now doing, whether it's just placements or finding out more about business in general, which is great. And I'm sure, I don't know who asked the question, but I'm sure people get all. Ask is the question. I think ask is the answer. Ask businesses to do it. Ask us. We're there. Just knock the door and ask. I think the local authority could do a little bit more. The education authority do a little bit more in engaging with business, but that's another conversation with them. Have you got anything to add, Rob?
Well, only that, obviously as part of the big bills, you'll know this, Alan, we require through our Beyond Bricks and Mortar scheme for companies who work with us to employ and offer apprenticeships, and those have been really successful. And, we've returned, as you know, to house building for the first time in 40 odd years. We're now on to our 3rd site. That expansion of us being able to build high quality, low energy homes. But the great thing is we're building our workforce at the same time. And all of these people are people who've come on site, would have not been in employment, come through, got trades, and are now qualified, working on new ones. I think the new challenge is for keeping them in the region. Because again, that's the other challenge. As somebody said earlier in their question, the challenge is that there is a shortage at the moment of skills, and that's something we really need to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. There is a shortage of skills. We're struggling at the moment to get skilled people, but it is a challenge throughout the UK at the minute, to be honest. This question is really, what construction project is starting in Swansea? We know that, Rob. You've answered that really well. There's lots happening, lots going on. I think what this person is trying to say: will there be any support to businesses that have worked through the pandemic, like manufacturing, construction, but have now seen a decline in the sectors? Is there's support being for tourism, hospitality, etc., going through the pandemic? Is there going to be support for companies now that might struggle post-pandemic, like the construction sector or manufacturing?
Yeah, so the support on many levels, Alan. So one of the things I haven't mentioned in my presentation, but I did intend to sort of reference it, was for those of you who got businesses based in Swansea. We've announced, you may have picked it up, a £20 million recovery fund. Part of that fund is going to be directly focused on local businesses, and we've made it clear that it is to help local businesses to recover, to sustain themselves as we come out of COVID. For instance, one of the first things we've done out of the fund has been to offer every local business up to £10,000 to improve their business, or to improve the shop frontages, or anything else they need to do to sustain and improve their business as we come out of COVID. So, we don't have the resources that the national governments have, but again, £20 million is still the biggest local fund anywhere in Wales, and we're very proud to be doing that. In addition to that, then we're looking at things like parking promotions, so that the cost of getting to work or getting to the shops is lower. I can tell you today, I can't give you the full details today, but I can tell you we'll be announcing in the next week or so, making travel free for everyone in Swansea for a period of time on certain days. So again, to try and encourage people to be able to take trips, whether it be to the beach or to go shopping or to go to see businesses, to get around Swansea for free for a period of time. And we will repeat that in the autumn holidays, in the winter holidays, and in Easter holidays next year. So these will be continued inputs for Wales. Obviously, we've got extra help that we're putting out for the tourism industry to try and support them with the staycations this year, because they're going to be under huge pressure, which is great, but it's still a challenge. So support for tourism as well. Going up then to the regional and national levels, Alan, obviously I'm the Deputy Leader of the Welsh Local Government Association, but I'm also the economy spokesperson for the WLGA. So we've got regular meetings with the new Economy Minister, Vaughan Gethin, and there is already discussion underway in terms of what we do to support businesses post-pandemic. So the current phase is obviously focused on those businesses that can't currently open or can't currently fully operate. But as soon as we get into level 0, level 1, obviously then the look is, what do we do to support businesses to grow and to expand as we come out of COVID? So, you know, we're in discussions at regional and national level on that, and there will be further announcements from Welsh Government in due course.
Oh, that's great, Rob. Thanks. That's great answer. Brings me on nicely to this one. What does the new normality look like for regional economy?
Okay, so it's just my personal view. I think for those people who think that we're all going to continue to work from home forever and nobody will go into the office again, I don't agree with that. I think it's going to be much more of a merged or fluid situation. You know, the information we're getting in terms of the new offices and hubs that we're building is that whilst people still demand, the office demand is still there, how they use them is probably going to be different. So you may rotate in and out of your offices, perhaps spend a day or 2 days at home, or you might choose to work in different locations during the week. I think the things that have probably gone forever, as you know, as a leader of a local authority, we used to have to do regular trips to Llandudno, to the Metropole, where we'd all meet up as leaders. We meet 3-4 times a week on Teams or on Zoom now, and you know, the last thing I want to do is to spend 2 hours in a car for an hour meeting and then 2 hours again coming home. So I think those sorts of things will change and probably won't come back. But in terms of the economy as a whole, I think I'm very much, I've read up on the stuff that happened after the 1918, 1920 pandemic and what happened after the Great War. And the Roaring Twenties were the Roaring Twenties for a reason. They were called that for a reason. There was a significant snapback, a significant bounce back. And I can understand it. I mean, I think we can all understand it now. You know, the population at the time having to live like we were, but without all of the support that we've currently got through modern technology, you know, wanted to get out there and enjoy their lives again, wanted to do all of the things that they'd not been able to do. So I think, you know, economy-wise, I think we're in for a boom, actually, in terms of people wanting to do holidays, wanting to go out and spend, wanting to enjoy themselves, wanting to really regain all of the freedoms that they've not been able to have over the last few years. So I'm very optimistic about the future, very optimistic.
That's great. Thanks, Rob. I don't think there's any more questions. Some great answers there, some real good positivity around that. The presentation's fantastic. What's going on in Swansea and the region is absolutely fantastic. Good for business, good for personal life. It's going to be absolutely exciting times ahead, I think. So thanks for that. All that remains for me is to, again, thank you all for your company. Special thanks to our guest speaker today, Councillor Rob Stewart, for a very insightful and informative talk. I thought it was great. Lots going on. May it continue. So thanks, Rob, for that. Thank you to Swansea University School of Management for your support. So thank you, Louisa, for that. To you all for your continued support of the club. We're only as good as you, our members, as you know. I'm really looking forward, as you are, to seeing you all in person very soon. If you want to stay around now, please do. We have some breakout rooms. Louisa will come back in and we'll have some breakout rooms. I'm staying around, so we'll end up in a room. We may end up together. So please have a great day. Look forward to seeing you all again soon. Diolch yn fawr iawn.